There we go. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah.
Awesome. Joe, thank you so much for coming on today. I was so excited to have you here.
I really appreciate you reaching out to me. This is a great opportunity, and we had a great conversation when we got started.
Did you like when I called you out of the blue and was literally like, "Hey, Coach Joe," and you're like, "I'm trying to put a face to the name."
I know. I had to take a step back. It's like, all right, Jacob. Which Jacob have I talked to? What's going on?
It goes back to an episode that I did with a very close friend of mine, Dan Gibson. And What we did was we spoke about, in so much ways, skipping the awkwardness, because it's just like, I think that I have something to add value here. And the value that I have is to have you and all of these wonderful people talk about what they do.
Exactly.
And I would rather not go through a whole monologue, but instead start in some which ways in the middle with a lot of these people to skip that whole first awkward part.
Right.
So I appreciate you being a good sport about it and not just hanging up on me on the spot, because that also would have been completely appropriate based on how I started it.
You didn't ask about my extended car warranty, so that was the first checkbox. Okay, this is a legitimate call.
100%. And I'm super excited for what we're going to get into, and that is based off what I've learned about you from going to your website, what I've learned about you from the videos that you have online and from the conversation that we had just before this. But I want to, in the same which way that I do, start off by asking, who is Joe Pannitto?
Wow, it's a great question. So I am a husband. I'm a father. I'm a son. I am a person of faith. I am a person who really made a big transition at the age of 55. Yeah. And I went from working for a paycheck to working for a passion. Oh. And it was very different, a different mindset, taking a leap of faith with that. And someone who, Joe is still a work in progress.
Yeah.
But Joe is someone who helps other people get unstuck. Mm-hmm. When you think about what we're trying to do, there's usually something in our way.
Yeah.
Or often there's something in our way.
Totally.
And I'm trying to help people get unstuck. I was stuck.
Yeah. I think one of the hardest things for people to do is just understand where they should be, because there's no rules, there's no roadmap. A lot of what we do is us figuring it out on our own. But when we're figuring these things out on our own, the best thing that we can do is ask other people, rely on other people, build relationships with other people, because if we don't, then we are truly alone, and it's much harder to do it on your own than it is with a group of people, especially those that are supportive.
Absolutely. The concept of a mastermind group was started by Napoleon Hill way back when. 1938 was when his book came out, Think and Grow Rich. But to your point, it's you surround yourself with those people that can be counselors and mentors to help you figure it out and figure out where you're going. And it's magic when it happens. It really is. I still remember exactly what happened to me when I made the transition.
Yeah.
It was what happened was I joined Toastmasters.
Okay.
So I wanted to learn how to speak better.
Yeah.
And what Toastmasters taught me was a whole new world. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, in my mind, I said, you know what? I'm going this way now.
Yeah.
I want to be a coach. I want to be a trainer. I want to be a speaker.
Yeah.
I want to help people.
Yep.
And not just be out there with a paycheck, waiting until the day I retire.
Yeah. To that point, there was something that I heard someone say, and it went, in the first half of someone's life, there's a focus on accumulation. And on the second half of someone's life, that's where they focus on purpose.
Yeah.
And it doesn't need to be done that way. But if you think about it, traditionally speaking, that's what you are doing. You start from some place to build up to a point of then being able to do what it is that you want to do. The problem is, though, there are feelings of self-doubt and there are feelings of being stuck. and that there's this perpetual cycle of never getting to the point of purpose that you have either been striving for, or that you don't even know what it's capable of being for yourself in the future, because you just haven't thought about what the future could be like for you. So with what you do, what is the importance, because I know that there is some, of looking forward rather than thinking about the past?
It's a great point. So the past can either be an anchor that holds you back, or it can be the catalyst that moves you forward.
Ooh.
So I always like looking at it this way, and I talk to clients about this.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to separate and take the learning from the past. So you can't change it. It happened, whether it was good or bad.
Yeah.
So you pull the learning out, and then I'm a visual person. So then you take the rest of that experience, you put it in a suitcase, and you close the suitcase up. Then pretend you're going on a trip.
Yeah.
And as you're boarding the plane, boarding the train, throw the suitcase away.
Yeah.
Because you took the learning from it. The rest of it is going to be an anchor. So don't worry about it and just focus on forward. You've got to focus on where you're trying to get to, and not what you have. And that's hard to do.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. But and to your point, it's very true, because you're young, you're raising families, so everything is money.
Yeah.
And often people can't break out of that. And then, I saw my father. Both my parents never went to college, so he had a job he hated.
Yeah.
But he had nowhere else to go. In his mind, he had nowhere else to go.
And it's all a development. It's nothing that is, okay, I'm going to do this, and I did it. Like you said, when you started, you are developing who Joe is as you go on, which fits very well into what you've named your company.
Oh, yeah.
So what is the name of your company, and how has that played a role in the way that you help people?
Yeah. So I named it Developing Positive Skills for Life.
Okay.
Originally, to be honest with you, my vision was to work with students.
Oh, okay.
And did a pivot out of that.
Yeah.
But Developing Positive Skills for Life, very simply, is because whether I coach you in your career or in your life or whatever it is, coaching has no boundaries.
Yeah.
So it's the life, because you're going to apply the same skills in your career, in your home life, in your relationships. So there's no boundaries to it. So that's why I did that and chose Developing Positive Skills for Life. I did the pivot away from the kids simply because there are people better qualified than me to work with the youth. Okay, full disclosure, I'm going to be 61 this year.
Yeah.
All right, there's people that are more your age that would be more relatable to a student.
Absolutely. And that's why I am starting this. And what exactly is this? This is Smile Talk with Jacob, where we bring on masters of their crafts to speak to how they help people develop and enhance their self-esteem and confidence. The ability to push out exactly what we are here by bringing on people like you allows a different perspective to be seen, understood, and implemented by those who are listening.
Yeah.
Because positivity is so contagious.
It is.
There's one thing that I heard someone say, and that was, if all else fails, just smile. And that will change your attitude, and it will change the attitudes of those around you.
It changes your brain chemicals. So when you smiling, laughing will change your mood.
Yeah.
I talk about this a lot because work has changed. So I do a lot of work with various employees around the country.
Yeah.
Working in a remote environment is here to stay in some form or fashion, but it's very isolating.
Correct.
And you can get into your own head and go into some really dark places when you're by yourself all day long. When you can start laughing, when you can start remembering that you're good at stuff and have connection.
Yeah.
One of the things is, a couple of things. During the course of the day, reach out to somebody that you know. Have a conversation.
Yeah.
Man, hey, Jacob, just wanted to reach out for 10 minutes. I know you're busy today, but I just got my butt kicked with this client today.
Yeah.
Just, there's just building that rapport as opposed to just sitting there and kind of wallowing in it.
Yeah.
Because you're releasing those chemicals in your brain to change your mood.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, exercise is a great thing. I talk to
Yes.
people all the time about, hey, sitting in your desk for 8 hours a day is not good.
Correct.
So now we're in northeastern Ohio.
Right.
Sometimes it's a little hard to get outside, but 2 days ago it was beautiful.
It was 67 degrees
It was 67
outside.
degrees. I took a 2.5 mile walk around the development in the middle of the day just to
right.
get out of the office.
Yeah.
My office is in the basement of my home, so I
Yeah.
don't have any outside windows
Right.
facing it.
Right.
But it's great.
Yeah.
It's great. That changes your mood dramatically.
And there's so many different places to start. So how do you find where it would be most beneficial to start with any one person, being as though everyone's situation is so drastically different?
Yep. Everybody is different. So when I talk to a potential client,
Yeah.
the first thing is we're going to have a 1 hour conversation.
Mm-hmm.
No charge, just
Yeah.
kind of get to know each other because
Right.
coaching is a two-way street.
Yeah.
So you have to be comfortable with me. I have to be comfortable with you. And
Right.
the two-way street comes in, I could sit there and do 12 sessions with you.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're not committed to making the changes, it's not going to mean anything.
Yeah.
So it starts with a 1 hour conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, I can figure out in my mind where I think we may be going.
Yeah.
But it really comes down to you and
Yeah.
what you're trying to achieve. And then figuring out what you want, how do you know when you get it,
Mm-hmm.
and then actually putting it on paper.
Yeah.
What the goals of the engagement are going to be. I love going through a character assessment. There's 1,000 assessments out there for people. I really like the values and action assessment. It goes through and it will rank 24 different personality characteristics.
Oh, wow.
And it's really fascinating. So for me,
Yeah.
my number one characteristic is humor.
Okay.
It is my go-to
Yes.
to diffuse tension,
Yes.
to kind of be the center of attention a
Yeah.
little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Although I have sometimes, I haven't figured out what to name this, but I have this, we'll call it a disease,
Yeah.
where sometimes the mouth engages before the brain.
Yes.
And I'll say something that I think is funny, and it's a flat line. It's
Yes.
like, oh, okay, that wasn't good. I should not have said that. And you can't take the words back.
Right.
But humor is one. So
Yeah.
we look at that. Okay.
Yes.
The folks that I work with that are in addictive behavior and are in recovery. So that's one of the focuses that I have.
Yeah.
A lot of times they're lesser strengths. We call them signature strengths, middle strengths, and lesser strengths. The
Okay.
lesser strengths have to do with self-regulation,
Yeah.
perseverance,
Mm-hmm.
that type of thing. And then we start working on that aspect of it.
Yeah.
Also depends on how you see yourself. Okay. A lot of times working with folks in addictive behavior, there's an element of victimhood in there
Yeah.
that they don't have any control over their lives.
Yeah.
And there's trauma. There's trauma, there's stress that's fueling that addictive behavior.
What is addictive behavior?
Addictive behavior is when you can't control the impulse. So, and you think about it, it could be alcohol, it could be drugs, it could be shopping,
Yeah.
it could be gambling.
Yeah.
And now we've got the whole influx of online gambling now.
Oh, gosh.
So
Yeah.
it's huge. But it's where it becomes the overriding behavior for you. And it's like you can't, it's all you think about.
Yeah.
When am I good? And part of it is getting that dopamine hit because you're getting that
Correct.
motivation and it's reprogramming and kind of rewiring your brain to get the dopamine somewhere else over a period of time.
Yeah.
But so that's one aspect of it. And then the way I work is I'll put somebody through the assessment. There's a class because a lot of it has to do with that victimhood. So it's how you see yourself and how you see other people around you and how you're relating to other people. So there's an online class that we'll do. And then after that, you've got some self-awareness. It's like, okay, so this is how Joe's wired. That's why I kind of do those things. And then now I see how I'm relating to myself and other people. So then I'll do either a 6-month or a 1-year coaching engagement.
Okay.
Those are the two things. 6 months is the bare minimum because you've really got to give it a chance to work, to see what you're doing. Now, the other side of that, Jacob, which is so important, is are you coaching? Coaching is part of a holistic approach. So if you're not going to treat the other underlying symptoms, very often, the majority of cases, when you're dealing with addictive behavior, there's a comorbidity there. So there might be a bipolar disorder or something like that. So you've got to have medical treatment as well. If you don't have a holistic approach and you're not treating the mental aspect of it with proper medication, then the coaching's not going to work.
I think that social media has become an extremely addictive behavior to a lot of people. And it's so tough because it's how people consume information. And not even strictly for entertainment purposes, but also informational purposes. I mean, I am putting something like this out for a magnitude of reasons, with the biggest to provide an area of positivity that people can come to understand what they can do to better themselves and put themselves in a better position. And I do that by having on people who are experts in their field to talk about how they can do this, and then it's up to them to implement it. But how are they getting this information? It's from YouTube. It's from Instagram. It's from TikTok. I got a new phone in December, and I said, I'm not going to download any social media on my phone. And it lasted a long time, but once this got started in January, well, I needed to post things. I needed to push things out. So what do I have on my phone? Every single app that I was in so much ways so happy not to have on my phone in December. Now, I am happy that I'm doing this, but that's why the purpose of this is the people who I'm getting it to, because in so much ways I'm taking on the burden of putting social media back on my back, where I get stuck on just a carousel of swiping and commenting and liking on all of these posts.
It becomes a compulsion.
Yes.
It's a necessary evil for you and for me because I have to be on a number of platforms to promote, try to find clients, to try and find people to help. But it's got a lot of negativity because people post. If you look at it, there's people out there posting all these magnificent pictures and whatever, and all of a sudden you're starting to think, well, my life's not that great.
Right.
And now you're starting that self-confidence downward spiral, the perception. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, take your pick. TikTok. They're misused or overused.
Yes.
In a lot of cases. And plus, people get very emboldened. People will say a lot of stuff that they wouldn't dare say to your face.
Correct.
All of a sudden, they throw that out there. When I was in school 100 years ago, bullying happened, but it ended at the end of the day. Because you went home. Now bullying is 24 hours a day because of the online. So.
And the worst part is sometimes the bullying's coming from yourself.
Wow. So you just kind of teed that one right up for me because part of the challenge I always had was my own self-esteem and my own. I used to always joke that because I'm an only child. So if you ask my family, that means I have a lot of baggage. But that my mantra in high school was do as little as possible and still graduate. Because I didn't like high school. 634 kids in the class. If I taught to 5 kids, it was a miracle. But that was my mantra. I'm going to do as little as possible and graduate. What happened was that, and I used to joke about it, but that joke actually turned into a limiting mentality that I carried for a long, long time.
Yeah.
And had to break out of that because everything became, I'm just going to do just enough to get by, whatever it is, whatever it was. So it took a long time to break out of that. That's part of what we do to ourselves.
Absolutely.
The other part of it is what we let other people do. Okay? Gabor Mate, who I absolutely love, a huge author, medical doctor in Vancouver, does a lot of work with ADHD and addictive medicine, says that we may not be responsible, and I may get this wrong, but we may not be responsible for the world that created our minds, but we are responsible for the mind with which we create our world. So when I say that, what I mean is I came out of sales, okay? You're only as good as your numbers.
Yeah.
Every sales manager I ever had in my old career was a persecutor. What have you sold for me today? You're behind. Go out there and sell something.
Right.
Blah, 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 blah. So you've got bosses at work who may beat you up. You may have parents, okay, that will not say the right things, maybe call you some bad things, whatever. All that stuff adds up, and then it builds up, and now all of a sudden your self-confidence is low, and you limit yourself. It's like, well, I can't do that.
Yeah.
It's like, I can't do a podcast like Jacob's doing. I don't have those skills. And it takes a while to break out of that. There's every coach has their go-to resources. And I've got 3 or 4 different go-to resources when I have to do research, when I'm learning my craft. And positive psychology is one, and it's huge. We are very out of balance. Human beings, by default, we are programmed to go negative. Always the worst case scenario. So we're always out of balance. Whenever you have those feelings, you've got to try to balance out a negative thought with a positive thought. Okay? So you're probably doing presentations all the time for your work.
Absolutely.
What is, in your mind, it's like, oh, I hope I don't mess this up. We were just talking before the podcast about my experience. Oh, what if I mess this up? All right, so what's the opposite of that? What if I give the best speech I've ever given? So, it's a big thing. And when you start getting depressed, when you start having self-doubt, that's another indicator that you may need a shot of endorphins, serotonin in your brain. And just part of that is remembering your past accomplishments.
There's something on your website. It wasn't auditing. Was it like reassigning? It was something about making sure that you it was something about like auditing your thoughts. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think I know what you're referring to. But we do have to keep track of our thoughts. That self-talk can be, and it's easy to do, because you get into a rut, so to speak, and it's hard to break out of it. And it's a habit that you really have to form, and it's a muscle you've got to flex. It's that prefrontal cortex is the self-regulation and willpower and motivation, and you have to practice that. And like I said, balancing out those negative thoughts with a positive thought, remembering your past accomplishments. Okay, you may have a bad day. We all have bad days.
100%.
Okay? But you know what it is? You have to separate out and say, okay, so Jacob had a rough day. Joe had a rough day as a coach, but Jacob the person is still a good person. So I'll bounce back from that rough day. I'm going to take the learning again. I'm going to take the learning from it. I'm going to throw the rest in a suitcase and get rid of it.
Self-regulation.
Yes.
Self-regulation of your emotions, never getting too high or too low. Dan Gibson said the same thing in our second episode. He says, there's that point, there's that middle ground that you stand. And sometimes you may be feeling really good. And then there's some times that you're going to feel really bad and you start getting past that point of neutral and you start going into the negative.
Yep.
And then that's when Dan was like, no, audit your thoughts. What is really that bad? Is it the perceived outcome? Or is it what you have actually experienced? And more times than not, it's the perceived outcome that keeps you from even understanding what that outcome is.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. I'm sure I was not the first one to say this, but I'll take credit for it.
Yeah.
So I call it confident humility.
Okay.
So confident humility means that you stay in the middle. We are never as good as we think we are.
Correct.
And conversely, we're never as bad as we think we are. So you stay in the middle, you keep growing, you keep learning, and keep moving forward. So here's the other thing that's fascinating, because we all do this. I call it follow your North Star. So think about a compass, okay? Yeah. If you've got a compass in your hand, when we keep looking east and west, that's comparing ourselves to everybody else, okay? That's how we get distracted. Well, Jacob's got, a nicer car than I do and whatever. So east and west gets us messed up.
Yeah.
What we need to focus on is north and south. South is where you were. North is where you're trying to get to. Mm-hmm. So are you farther along than when you started? Then you're good.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and that's another part of the Facebook and the social media, because everybody's comparing their lives to everybody else.
Oh, totally.
I can't live your life. I can live my life.
Right.
I can live my life and just I'm having a great time in my life right now. I tell clients all the time, I have a really cool way in how I spend my day.
Yeah.
Because I have great conversations all the time.
Right.
So.
And there's so many wonderful people out there that are doing so many wonderful things, and the opportunity to speak to as many as you can is only going to further have a positive impact on your life and all of those that you surround yourself and share their information with from your own circle.
Absolutely. The addiction recovery is an important aspect of what I do.
Yeah.
The other aspect is adults with ADHD. Now, full disclosure, I was never diagnosed with ADHD.
Yeah.
I know I have it.
Yeah.
I've done a number of online assessments, but back then they really didn't test for it.
Yeah.
And so I know I have it. So that's another thing that I love working with that space, because I understand it.
Yeah.
I live it. I know that I've got problems, challenges trying to keep my attention and how to deal with that. And now it's huge because everybody's working remote or hybrid.
Right.
Well, now you're working at home.
Yeah.
You're surrounded by all your distractions.
And to your point about progress, how do you help people understand the progress that they're making once they're ready to start the process of change?
Sure. That is part of that answer is in the coaching agreement. So everyone I work with, we do a coaching agreement and we do a summary of services.
Yeah.
And I have them write out, how do you know if you're making progress? How do you know if you're achieving what you want to achieve? This way it's in their words. It's not in my words.
Right.
And they can track that. The other thing I like to do is, depending on how long the engagement is, I'll do that values and action assessment a second time.
Okay.
Because you can see the difference in how the strengths show up. So if someone, and when you see those strengths, that will sometimes guide the engagement. It's like, I really want to work on my leadership, or I really want to work on my bravery. I'm too timid. I'm missing things because I'm not. I'm inside the box. So when I do the assessment a second time, we can see how it's changing.
Yeah.
And if those characteristics that you're working on are moving up, and you're feeling better about where you're going. Those are the things that get me excited.
Yeah.
When I get on the phone with someone and they have a major breakthrough.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about coaching is really pretty simple. Yeah. It's taking you from where you are to where you're trying to get to. And in the middle is either an obstacle in your way or just a lack of direction. You don't know how to get there. You don't know how to get started. And we're trying to get you unstuck.
At 25 years old. I mean, I'm 26 now, but like I remember,
you're so old.
back about a year ago. But it literally was. It was a year ago, and I was 25, and I thought to myself, I go, wow, I finally understand the concept and value behind coaching. Mm-hmm. And what I was able to relate it to was not business coaching, not personal coaching, but the coaching that I had for cross country and track. And I was able to pull the lessons and everything that we did to then truly understand how it can have a positive impact on your business and on you personally. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't until I conceptualized, I go, wow, like there was this person who volunteered their time to help us become better runners. And what I came to find out is, truthfully, it was so much more than just that. Mm-hmm. But I'm not realizing that until, I mean, that's not without me realizing that until I complained about it the whole time. Why are we running this much? Why are we doing this? This is annoying. I don't want, are you kidding me? We did 5 miles like last week. Why are now we doing like 8? And it's just like, it's funny because at the time although I would say like aware to say, okay, like I know why we're doing this, but it wasn't like, yeah, I knew why we're doing this, but I didn't know why we were doing that. Yeah. It was the same, but now it's different. Mm-hmm. And that was really cool.
You just articulated very well why I named my company Developing Positive Skills for Life. Yeah. Because those track coaches, they instilled something in you that it was a seed. And then all of a sudden at 25, it's like, oh, I get it now.
Yes.
Now I get it. You had an aha moment.
Yeah.
So that's what I get excited about when someone has an aha moment like that, and everybody's different. Yeah. I have clients that they will take all the notes and they'll want to talk everything out. Sometimes I'm just a sounding board. Yeah. They will talk everything out, and then all of a sudden, about halfway through, they're like, "Oh, I get it now. Yeah. Now I know what I've got to do." Yeah. Because they're visual learners. Yeah. So. And I'm a visual learner. I love the visual of the suitcase. Mm-hmm. So Brian Tracy's philosophy of eat that frog in terms of getting over procrastination. I love that. I have clients that will put little frogs on their monitor.
Can you talk about that? Because I'm not aware of it.
Yeah. So it's actually attributed to a quote from Mark Twain. And supposedly, Mark Twain said, if you wake up in the morning and the first thing you do is eat the biggest, ugliest frog you can find, you'll go through the rest of the day knowing you don't have anything that bad to do again. So the point is, first thing in the morning, you tackle the hardest task on your list, and you knock it out. Yeah. For 2 reasons. Number one, you finished it, so now you got a shot of dopamine because you made success and you're motivated to go on to the next thing. Yeah. Secondly, it's off your plate and it's not distracting you. Right. Because even if you're thinking, well, I got to do that, I'll do it later. Yeah. It's still in the back of your mind, and it can derail the rest of your day. Oh yeah. So God love her, my wife will tell me that because there's certain things that I procrastinate on, and she'll tell me, you need to eat your frog. Yeah. You got to eat you need to eat that frog. Yeah. So it's like, yeah, I know. So, all right, thank you. But it's a great philosophy. Yeah. So there's 2 ends of the spectrum. Yeah. There's a philosophy of eat that frog, which works for me. It depends on what works for you. Correct. The other one is the Pareto principle, which basically means you get all the little stuff out of the way and you knock out all that little stuff. Maybe you've got 5 things that you can knock out in an hour, and you do it that way. So it depends. There's a lot of different things out there, a lot of different strategies. Yeah. You've got to find out what works for Jacob. What works for Jacob doesn't work for Joe. Right. So it takes time. Now, I'm going to ask you, how long do you think it takes to form a new habit?
I would say every bit of 6 months.
Very good. Very good. So the most recent data says 66 days.
Okay.
So plus or minus 66 days depending on the person.
Yeah.
So the point is you're running a marathon. You're not running a sprint.
Yeah.
Back to track. Okay. So you're running a marathon. So you can't just do something for a week and say, this didn't work. I'm done. You've really got to be diligent about it and get to that 66-day marker. They're roughly around there to really instill change in your life.
I am a firm believer that to make the most effective and potentially permanent change in your life, there needs to be an emotional component versus only a mindset or willpower component to it. I mean, goodness, I think about my fitness journey. There was this girl that I was talking to back in the summer of last year, and we talked for a little while. It was great, and then we didn't wind up talking. And I was just like, I need to get my mind off this. So I started going on runs. I started doing cycling classes, and I enjoy running and I enjoy being outside. So in other words, I was kind of getting my mind off of that by doing things that I enjoyed that were also going to allow me to have a positive impact on my body,
right?
Physically and mentally, because running allowed me to clear my head. But it wasn't until me and her were done talking where I was like, I need to make a change. I need to do this. And that has stuck with me up until now. And what's been nice is seeing the progress that has come from it. But that was that emotional push that I needed to become unstuck. Because I wasn't unhealthy, but I am a heck of a lot healthier now than what I was.
Yeah. So you have to figure out what Simon Sinek calls your why. So that's that emotional connection.
Yeah.
Why am I doing this?
Yeah.
What do I want to get out of this?
Yeah.
That's part of my training. I'm a certified trainer in what's called the empowerment dynamic. And it's all about removing drama from your life.
Yeah.
And so what are you focused on? How are you relating? And what actions are you taking? And so you figure out your why, and that's the first step.
Yeah.
Because you will never achieve anything without the emotional connection.
Yeah.
All right. In sales, you never sell anything to somebody unless there's an emotional connection.
Yeah.
So, and a level of rapport.
Yeah.
And that's important because not every client wants me as a coach, and as a coach, I don't want every client.
Right.
So, there has to be chemistry.
Absolutely.
If you will, because I'm a coach. I don't hold any authority over somebody.
Right.
If you want to make the changes, and sometimes we talk about this with addiction. Sometimes you have one or two or three rock bottoms before someone finally digs their heels in and says, all right, enough.
Yeah.
I can't do this anymore. And then we can start moving forward.
What are some things people can look for to identify if coaching would be beneficial to them?
So if you have been, I guess one of the things is if you've had a goal on your to-do list for like 2 or 3 or 4 years, you might want to look at a coach because you're stuck in some aspect of it. If you're unhappy with where you're at, if you're unhappy at work, it goes back to that commitment too.
Yeah.
So are you at the point where you want to make the commitment to make real change in your life? So I think part of it is if you feel like you're on a hamster wheel, just kind of spinning and never getting any traction in anything, that would be a sign. And there's coaching, consulting, and mentoring often get confused.
Yeah.
Sometimes, honestly, I wear two hats.
Yeah.
Because I'll share some experiences if it makes sense.
Yeah.
I'll share experiences as a teaching moment. So that's mentoring.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mentoring is, for what you do. There was someone else who did this job before you who taught you the ropes.
Yeah.
Who showed you how to do things. That's what a mentor does.
Yeah.
They teach because they've done it before.
Yeah.
Consultants typically, they get a lot of money, but they are the ones that come in, look at everything, and then tell you what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Coaches really don't tell you what to do.
Right.
I mean, there's an aspect of it that, we can or but we really don't tell you what to do.
Right.
And I can't take somebody where they don't want to go.
Right.
You set the agenda.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about what you want to talk about. So those are the differences. Now, sometimes what I have to do, though, is I have to what I call prime the pump. So if
Yeah.
you think about an old water pump,
Yeah.
okay, I have to prime the pump because people will be so confused they don't even know where to start.
Yeah.
It's like I'm unhappy. This is wrong. That's wrong. This is wrong.
Yep.
And it's like, okay, so let's try to figure out, okay, what would you like to work on today?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then start priming the pump with some strategies.
Yeah.
And just to get them thinking because they're not getting there on their own.
Yeah.
So it's a fun process.
Yeah. And I think the most challenging thing about coaching in so much ways is educating people about what coaching is.
Yeah.
I mean, to your point, you've got to prime the pump, but what you're doing is you're facilitating the conversation so that you can understand what it is that's going to best be able to help them moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't just say, oh, you need help with this? Here's a 10-step guide towards success in 30 days.
Right.
Because that's not what it is. We're talking about long-term or, at least 6 months to a year worth of commitment. Mm-hmm. And there are so many coaches out there that make such a difference. And the people who've gone through it
mm-hmm.
get it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the people who haven't experienced it just may not fully understand.
Right. They don't. So some of the contract work I do
Mm-hmm.
with employees
Yeah.
from all these various companies, sometimes, they don't know what coaching is. They're just like, well, my boss told me I got to do this, so tell me what to do, and then I'll get back to my day. It's like, well, that's not how it works.
Yes,
that's not how it works.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating process to get through, and there's some ground rules. So
Mm-hmm.
so when you're talking about people are messy.
Yeah.
A lot of what I talk about is relationships, how you're relating to yourself, how you're relating to other people. So rule number one is you can't make other people change.
Yeah.
So you've got to figure out why, whatever the issue is with that other person,
Mm-hmm.
why it's bothering you.
Yeah.
And get to that point because
Yeah.
you can't make somebody else change. Right. So the other thing is, especially in addiction recovery, it gets tough because there are certain relationships that can't go forward.
Yeah.
The people you hung out with on Sunday watching the Browns game at the tavern, it's not going to be possible anymore.
Right.
So the important thing is, again, staying in balance.
Yeah.
If you need to release some toxic relationships,
Mm-hmm.
then you've got to backfill with something else. You
Yeah.
can't be on an island by yourself.
Yeah.
So you've got to have a replacement and stay in balance.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I love what I do.
Yeah.
It makes me smile.
Absolutely. And it's so refreshing to be able to speak with someone who has found purpose in what they do. Because I feel like a lot of people are on this hamster wheel of not feeling as though they're getting anywhere, not knowing where they're going. But I don't even think that if they had the opportunity to go anywhere, they'd know where to go.
Mm-hmm.
So guiding conversations towards an understanding that allows them to feel and be able to conceptualize for themselves what's important to them is the start to what will then become a purposeful life.
Yeah, absolutely. oftentimes when I talk to people about career, what do I want to do and all that, I'll start with a very simple Venn diagram.
Okay.
So one circle on top, two circles on the bottom. That circle on top, that is your competencies. So what is Jacob really good at? What are your strengths? Okay, whether it's data analysis, whatever, those are your strengths.
Yep.
The bottom circle on the right, that's your passions.
Okay.
So it could be inside of work, it could be outside of work, but what are you passionate about?
Yeah.
And then that third circle is the company needs. So where you're at currently right now, all right?
Mm-hmm.
So whatever team you're on, what's their mission, what's their vision for this year, for 5 years from now, for 10 years from now?
Yeah.
And that sweet spot is where all three intersect. So if your company can provide you an opportunity to utilize your strengths and engage you in something you're passionate about, it's a great place to be.
Yeah.
So a lot of times that's how we'll start.
Yeah.
And we'll try to figure out where you want to go within the company.
Yeah.
Or sometimes you'll figure out, hey, you know what? It's maybe I need to move on. Maybe this isn't the best spot for me, and I'm not engaged because I'm not doing anything I'm passionate about.
Yeah. Well, and to really no one's fault, I think something that's important to acknowledge is the fact that, we're not talking about making small changes. Some changes could be small. But a lot of these can be intimidating.
Absolutely.
But purposeful once made that are going to make a significant impact moving forward.
Absolutely. Sometimes you have to take a leap of faith.
Yeah.
All right. So age 55, I pivoted to be a coach.
Yes.
Okay. That was scary.
Yes.
But I knew it was the right thing.
Yeah.
I'll tell you exactly. I talked a little bit about being in Toastmasters, but what really finally happened was we have to, at some point, we always have to shut down and get rid of all the chatter around us.
Yeah.
So I actually sat in my office. I still remember this. Sat in my office, lights off, no alarm, no nothing on my phone, nothing, no music, and just sat there for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And I came out of that and I said, okay, I'm done with insurance.
Yeah.
I'm done with that career. It's over. What I really learned was I was really burned out on it.
Yeah.
I had checked out a while ago.
Yeah.
I was trying different agencies to try and get a spark that wasn't there anymore.
Yeah.
So, and then I moved forward.
Yeah.
So, but it is scary. It's scary for your family. It's scary for everybody involved. But yeah, so sometimes you have to come to that realization.
Yeah. And it's also exciting.
It is.
It's a flip of the page.
It is.
It's a new chapter.
It is.
It's something you've never experienced before.
Yeah.
And as we said, you're much more likely to be successful with something that you're emotionally attached to.
Right.
And by having the come to Jesus moment of understanding what it is that allows you to excel and be happy and be more mindful of what excites you, that's why you are still here doing this.
Right. Right. So I'm going to share with your audience two things real quick.
Yeah.
So I do these all the time. So the first is the concept of CIA.
Okay.
And the C stands for control, the I stands for influence, and the A stands for accept. So within any given situation, there's certain things about that situation that are outside of, you had no say-so in it. I talk to people who their company got acquired, whatever. You didn't have a say-so in it. You have to accept that. Okay. So there's nothing you can do about that. If you're upset about it, then you have to try to figure out how to control those feelings and spend all your time on the control and on the influence. If we stay in that role where we're trying to fight against something that we have nothing to do, nothing that we can do about it, it's wasted effort.
Yeah.
So accept what you can't control and spend your time on influencing and trying to improve things and control and what you have within your control. The other one, it's real quick, is start, stop, continue.
Yeah.
So whether it's work, whether it's your personal life, whatever, what do I need to start doing that I'm not doing that I should be doing?
Yeah.
Okay. For me, it's exercise.
Yeah.
What should I stop doing that's not working?
Yeah.
And what should I continue doing that is working? So it's a small little framework.
Yeah.
but and it applies to everything.
Absolutely.
If you're having a hard time with a coworker, or you're having a hard time with a boss. Okay, well, I need to stop doing that because that didn't resonate.
Yeah.
I need to start being more proactive. He's always looking, whenever I talk to him, he's always looking for certain data. So I'm going to make sure that I have that data ready so I'm not scrambling for it.
Yeah.
Those types of things.
Yeah.
So, but it goes on with, you can use those with every aspect of your life. Everybody gets so frustrated with, there's so much turmoil in the world right now. Okay. All right. So I can't do anything about that. But within my world, I can influence it and I can control it. Okay.
Yeah.
One way to control it, don't watch so much TV.
Oh, yes.
TV.
Turn it off.
Turn
it off.
Turn it off. Read a book. Read a
Yes.
book. And I'm the person that loves to read like a book, not Kindle, but I like to have a book in my hands.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's all good stuff.
That's right. And I'm glad that you shared those examples with us to give us a peek into what it is that you help people with while facilitating how they can feel and how they can, more importantly, move forward so that they can progress and even show themselves the progress that they've made.
Exactly.
So if people are interested in getting a hold of you and learning more about who you are and what you do, what would you say the best way for them to get a hold of you is?
Probably the best way is to send me an email.
Okay.
It's Coach Joe at DPS for Life, DPSFORLIFE.com. That's the easiest way to reach me.
Yeah.
You can also, if you're on Facebook, you can direct message me. If you're on LinkedIn, you can direct message me.
You do something cool on LinkedIn every Monday, don't you?
Every Monday, I've got Mindful Mondays.
Yeah.
Yes. So my Mindful Mondays are just little tidbits that are all over the place. My last one, which was really kind of, I tried to find some stuff that really means something.
Yeah.
So this past Monday was, the people in your life should reduce your stress, not be the cause of it.
Yeah.
So that was, really goes back to those relationships. Some of those relationships may be toxic, and you've got to try to find some boundaries to those things. Okay.
I have a very close friend who said, Jacob, everything that you do from this point moving forward, given what you've accomplished in your life, should enhance your life, not make it harder.
Yeah.
That was more so specifically towards deciding if I want a dog or not.
Well, are you committed to taking the dog out when it's 5 degrees outside and the snow's 2 feet high?
Let me put it this way. I've been putting a set dollar amount away for the last year for this dog.
All right.
And her name would be Mabel. And
Mabel?
Mabel.
Interesting.
Maeble.
Yeah. And
it should be a female Bernese Mountain Dog.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So look out for it.
Yeah, so not exactly a small dog.
Nope. Those can get anywhere up to 120 pounds.
That's awesome. Well, I am a dog person, so I'm going to have some doggy time with that.
Yes.
With your pet.
Yes. What do you have?
So, we have 2 cats.
Yeah.
And I do enjoy cats.
Yeah.
But the daughter who wanted the cats is now married and out of the house, but we have the cats still. So I'm not quite sure how that worked out. But no, the cats are great. But I'm a dog person.
Yes.
So
if you had your choice, what dog would you have?
Oh, hands down, toy poodle.
Yes.
When I was a kid.
Yes.
When I was a kid, we had a toy poodle. The dog lasted actually till 18 years old.
Wow.
And this dog was so good, Jacob. He would sit on my bed until I fell asleep, and then he would get down. Because I was a little one. And he lasted until I was a freshman at Kent State. Oh. And then he passed away. My dad found him dead in the morning. Oh. But he was awesome, and his name was Rocky. Now, you might be a little bit too young, but if you're a baseball fan, he actually was named after Rocky Colavito.
Oh, no way.
So yeah, his name was Rocky. So that was awesome. So I'm not going to say if, when I get a dog, it'll probably be another toy poodle, and he will be Rocky too.
Oh, that's amazing. So Rocky 1,
Rock you one.
made you smile a lot.
Yep.
But I wanted to know who else makes Joe smile.
Wow. Who else? Who else and what else makes me smile?
That's right.
So certainly my family. Yeah. We are so blessed that we do a family vacation, and we have for several years now. So my wife and I, our 2 daughters, and my son-in-law. We have a wonderful son-in-law, and we've rented cabins in Hocking Hills. We've gone to the Smoky Mountains, to Nashville, Gatlinburg, Pigeon Forge, all that stuff. We have a great, great time. So that makes me smile. Watching my family have fun makes me smile. Walking through the parks. We are so blessed in this area to have the national park right in our backyard. Walking through the parks makes me smile. And when my clients have that aha moment, or I get on the phone with them and they're like, hey, that promotion I have been driving for the last year, I got it.
Yeah.
That makes me smile.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. I had so much fun today. I hope you did too.
I did. I really enjoyed, and I enjoyed this, and I appreciate the opportunity, and you have a great way of interviewing.
Thank you so much, Joe.